China's president says his country faces the biggest public health emergency in its history as it battles to contain the deadly coronavirus. Xi Jinping told high-ranking officials that measures taken to counter the virus were effective, but despite that, nearly 650 additional cases in the past 24 hours has taken the total to just under 77,000. More than 2,400 people have died. Iran is now another major hotspot with 48 cases and 8 deaths, the highest toll outside of China. Several neighbouring countries have closed their borders. But it's Italy that has the largest outbreak outside Asia. In a matter of days, confirmed cases jumped from 3 to 138. 3 people have died, and a cluster of cases is confounding scientists as it has no link to China. Meanwhile, South Korea's president says the next few days will be critical for an outbreak that struck more than 600 people. 6 have died, and the country is now on its highest possible alert. Robert Bride reports.
The worst affected areas in southeast Korea, the city of Daegu and neighbouring Cheongdo County, remain at a virtual standstill. 2 mass clusters of infections account for the majority of cases reported so far. One of them at this hospital quickly spread, infecting more than 100 patients and staff. Wards are being prepared to treat the increase of new coronavirus patients. Raising the alert to the highest level came at an emergency meeting chaired by President Moon Jae-in. This weekend, the number of new cases has risen alarmingly by the hundreds, and he stressed that the next few days will be critical in stemming the outbreak.
The situation has become completely different since the outbreak of mass infection.
Extra resources will be directed into trying to stop the spread of the coronavirus. He urged everyone to avoid mass events.
We have vividly witnessed how dangerous it is to have a mass meeting in an enclosed indoor place in terms of the spread of contagious disease. I urge everyone to restrain themselves from group events or activities, not only in indoor places, but also outdoor places.
Sunday across South Korea, church leaders were asked not to hold services.
It's sad that we can't hold a church service, but we are following government policy and we don't want any further spread of the disease.
In the affected areas, most people have heeded warnings to stay indoors as they wait to see if the emergency measures work. The South Korean government is hoping its latest measures will help limit the clusters of infection to this part of the country, knowing the price of failure could mean the kind of travel restrictions imposed on China, with the damage that would cause to its economy. Rob McBride, Al Jazeera, Cheongdo County, South Korea.
The coronavirus has spread rapidly in Iran over the past few days. 4 new infections have been recorded in the capital, Tehran, 7 in the holy city of Qom, 2 in Gilan province, and 1 each in Markazi province and Tonikabon. In a bid to stop the cluster spreading, Pakistan closed its notoriously porous border with Iran on Sunday, as have Armenia and Turkey in the northwest. Ankara has also halted all incoming flights. Afghanistan has suspended all road and air travel to its neighbour. 3 Afghans are currently being tested for the virus after entering from Iran. And Iraq has also scanning arrivals over fears that hundreds of thousands of Iranians visiting holy sites could bring the virus across the border. Dorsa Jabari is in the capital, Tehran, with more on how Iranian authorities are responding.
The number is, of course, significant because they are worried that the containment process is really something that they need to address as quickly as possible. The outbreak started in the holy city of Qom, which is about 120 kilometers south of the capital, Tehran. Officials believe that a Chinese construction worker, was the source of the outbreak in that city. Now, they have since closed schools and universities, not only in Qom, but in about 2/3 of the cities across the country. In the capital, all the major events have been cancelled, including the government foreign ministry briefing that was to be held on Monday. And we also understand the Tehran University dormitories have been evacuated as well. The health ministry has also said that the masks and disinfectants will no longer be sold in pharmacies because the government will be handing them out in public metro stations as well as buses across the cities.
The Italian Prime Minister has announced a quarantine on several towns affecting 50,000 people. Now, the last 2 days of the Venice Carnival has been cancelled. Catherine Stansel has more.
More drastic measures in Italy as doctors struggle to contain the spread of the coronavirus. The mayor of Milan has ordered schools to close for at least a week. Sporting events in the Lombardy and Veneto regions have been cancelled. So have the final days of the world-famous Venice Carnival, a disappointment to thousands of revelers.
It is useless to stop a carnival because there are hospitals and bars and supermarkets and restaurants and trains and planes and ferries which are all open spaces. And so how do you solve this problem? Stopping a carnival, it's all ridiculous.
Panic is more contagious than the virus, and at this point it's a bit unnecessary, don't you think?
And the lockdown in northern Italy has gone from urging everyone to stay indoors to a fully fledged quarantine. Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte has banned people from entering and leaving the regions where the virus is most prevalent, and the army is being deployed to ensure the quarantine is observed.
We and the health authorities have not been able to locate patient zero. Because we haven't identified this, it's difficult to make any predictions about how the virus will spread. So the only valid measure to be taken was to close off these territories.
The quarantine has led to a rush to buy supplies, and with the sudden increase in new cases, many Italians are worried.
We're all afraid, but we're crossing our fingers it'll be all right. If someone doesn't feel well, they should react early because people can be cured. If they come to hospital in a desperate situation, it's much more difficult to cure them.
With more than 130 confirmed cases of the coronavirus, Italy is the worst-hit country in Europe. Everyday life for many here looks like it will remain at a standstill until the outbreak can be contained. Catherine Stansel, Al Jazeera.
Well, joining us now via Skype is journalist Sabina Castelfranco. She's in Venice, where the carnival, as you heard, has been closed early by the mayor. Sabina, thank you for joining us. We understand it's a very fluid situation there. Can you tell us a bit more about the extra measures that the government is putting in place?
Well, the extra measures have now been extended not just to Veneto and to Lombardy, but to another 3 regions, including Emilia-Romagna. So what the measures include is no schools will be closed, no universities will be closed. People have been asked to stay at home and not go to their offices. There will be no church services anymore. Basically, there will be no public gatherings that could create the spread of the virus. All of this has been stopped, and as well as obviously sporting events, soccer games. And the carnival, as you said, has been completely stopped. No events for carnival anymore in Venice. But of course, that does not leave. That does not completely resolve the problems, because obviously buses continue, and the boats in Venice are full of people all the time. What I did notice today, there were many, many more people wearing protective masks than I had seen yesterday.
And we understand that in some of those towns, police are actually patrolling the streets, and people face jail sentences or fines if they leave their homes. How are people reacting to these measures?
Yes, well, people are not reacting badly to this. The situation they consider is serious, and there is panic, and there is also paranoia at the moment. They feel that the measures needed to be taken. It's not, people aren't completely complaining all the time. So yes, they are patrolling those towns, particularly the ones that have been quarantined, to ensure that people do not leave or come back, and they do face up to $250 in fines and jail sentences if they break those measures. So for the quarantine towns, people must stay indoors for the time being, and of course people are trying to gather as much food as possible, because if they are to stay within their homes, they will need to eat during this time. Elsewhere in the regions where the quarantine, which are not under quarantine, people can sort of carry out their normal lives, but it remains to be seen what's going to happen at places like railway stations. At the airport in Venice, checks are being carried out to passengers that are coming in, just to ensure that they show no symptoms. But this is not happening at the railway station here here in Venice. So it remains to be seen what is going to happen there.
Sabina Castelfranco, thank you for that update from Venice.